here is the real development about your trauma. I still remember history lesson when we were like in primary school. I had maybe 11 years old and I was so autistic kid. I all the time was like screaming and thinking I'm the smartest and I know the best history and I know the best subjects of anything, and this was so like embarrassing for me at this moment. But at this time, yes, I was this autistic kid who was believing I was the smartest ever, and I wanted to like share my knowledge with a teacher and with whole class in the beginning of the lesson. And I just told like some shit about communistic Russia because the lesson was about communistic Russia, and teacher just told me I'm absolutely terrible kid and I always disturb in her classes, and like she told me so many unpleasant things because she was this old school teacher who believed that you have to scold the child and you have to told him or her that she is the worst student that she ever had. So this is what she told me in front of all class, and I would say at this time I was the most traumatized ever in my history of going to school. And what's more interesting, I remember every detail from that lesson which I had at this time. It was about communistic Russia and I still remember exact sentences which she told me back then in this class. So what we are going to talk today, this is a secret superpower, which is our emotion in a process of learning new information. Did you ever notice what are the moments when we feel emotions? These are always some very important moments for our survival. For example, when we are in love, we feel butterflies in our stomach. When we see a snake, we feel like terrified. When we want to date with girl, we feel stressed, we feel anxious, we feel some strange emotions about that. So we basically feel emotions only in moments which are important for our survival and reproduction. And this is very important because our brain actually created a special pattern to remember this moment the most, because they are just important to keep our species and make it survive and make it like continue to its bloodline, continue to reproduce and to exist in this very, very hard to survive world. So in the process of evolution of Homo sapiens, our brain created multiple ways to create strong memories when we feel some emotions. These are, for example, very strong connections between our hippocampus and our amygdala, because our hippocampus is of course responsible for remembering information and our amygdala is responsible for processing and for controlling our emotions. So these two parts of brain cooperate very strongly with each other, and in this way we can easily remember our emotional state with a certain situation, and we remember what happened and what were the situations which caused strong emotions in us. Another process which happens when we feel emotion is very big secretion of neurotransmitters, which are also responsible for remembering new informations. So huge secretion of neurotransmitters cause us just to remember information much better, because our brain is evolutionary created to remember emotional situations to avoid or to continue them in the future. But how to provide emotions when you are learning? Because usually we associate learning with so boring tasks which we have to do, and there is nothing exciting and nothing what brings emotion in that process. And it's actually right, school is often an antonym of an exciting adventure, but there is something what is called emotional association method, and when you learn to use it properly, it can really revolutionize your way of learning new information. To explain how it works, I will use a short story. For example, when I'm at the party and we tell each other jokes, when somebody tells me, Kasper, tell a joke, the first one which I will tell will be the worst, the dirtiest and most politically incorrect joke ever. And this is for a certain reason. Our brain creates like the best memory with the worst, the most emotional jokes ever. So when you remember just very racist, very politically incorrect jokes, this is for a certain reason, and this is because of our brain, and this is because this joke actually give it emotion to make it remember for much longer and make it last in your memory for a longer period of time. And this is what we want to use in our emotional association method. But what I will tell you here, it's something what most of memory technique people won't tell you, because they will tell you for sure, yes, to use something which is connected with erotism or with brutal force, something like that. Yes, and it's kind of right. This causes some emotions in your brain, but be honest with yourself. You have to use something which is giving you the worst and the strongest emotions ever to remember some informations. And I know you are not able to provide them like instantly, so I will give you some tip. Use your worst phobia and like think for a few minutes what is your worst phobia and use it to remember information. I know it sounds so stupid, but for example, for me, my phobia is like trypophobia. This is when people in the internet posted these pictures where there are parts of human body with holes. Like, I don't know why, but I feel like so strange emotions and so much kind of disgust and worried by looking at these pictures, which are still mostly AI generated or something photoshopped. But it's so strange for me, and right now I use them in every association about my learning, and this work miracles for me, and it also like helped me to a little bit handle with this phobia. So think what's your worst phobia and use them to associate informations with them. My another phobia is when people in front of all class, like when in this history lesson, which I told you in the beginning, well, like someone in front of all people tell me something so terribly bad, something what makes me trauma. This is my another phobia. I know it's stupid. So I use this also to my memorization technique, and I have also like maybe 3 or 4 other of them, which I use to remember information. So I use my phobia in my advantage. That's why, you know, when you, for example, when I wanted to learn how is "you are so beautiful" in Russian, it's "ты такая красивая." I used, for example, this stupid technique, which I will give you as an example. Like, for example, in one hole, I imagine the bottle with testosterone, and testosterone is T in Russian. Такое is, for example, take. So I imagine that in other hole there is this little human which is taking testosterone. And красивая, for me, my first association was this with bird kraska, which is a very beautiful bird existing in Poland. So I imagine this guy which has kraska on his shoulder and he's taking testosterone. And this is how I remember, like in 20 seconds, sentence in Russia: "Ты такая красивая." You are beautiful. If you want to learn more about learning techniques, watch our iceberg, which is here about brain maxing. And as we are still in the beginning of our YouTube journey, remember about likes and subscribe because it really, really helps. Thank you.